in radio.com.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on radio.com. I'm the Admiral. Please welcome the one, the only, the General. How are you tonight?
Thank you, Admiral. I'm doing very well.
Good. Glad to hear it. Another exciting week of fantasy baseball action to cover. Couple of interesting stories to start off with. Last week we had the interesting and quite humorous story about a little bit of a stomach issue going on at Citi Field or courtesy of the Shake Shack. You had any update on that?
I do have an update, Admiral, and we have heard a day after the infamous Ryan Sandberg and Lucas Duda accusations, if you will, regarding their food poisoning from the Shake Shack. Which, by the way, the Shake Shack has commented on this.
Yes,
okay?
they have.
They have not tried to bury this under the
No,
rug.
they did. They actually came out and said something about quality control being very important.
Yes.
And at all of their locations nationally, they're quite conscious of the quality control.
Without question, but. Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez, and Gary Cohen have stated in the game right after our breaking news that night that they had just had a burger from Shake Shack and it was delicious.
And it was quite good.
And it worked out beautifully. Now, we don't have the pending results from the day after this hamburger was eaten by these three fine gentlemen.
That statement came, I'm sure, as a directive from Mets PR Director Jay Horowitz.
I believe that Mr. Horowitz was
Mr.
involved
Horowitz
in that
said,
statement.
listen, you had a burger, you liked the burger, and you're fine.
And in fact, you've lost weight from eating this burger. Not because you got sick. The burger's good for you.
That's called damage control, folks. But it's funny. I mean, all kidding aside, there were a string of Mets players that wound up with these various supposed virus-like, flu-like symptoms and missed games. So a couple of guys wound up on the DL.
Well, listen,
Vermont wound up on the DL with a stomach virus.
They came up with the secret weapon. They didn't know how to control it. It got out of the lab, and it's killing them.
It's killing their own men.
Oh, boy.
All right, so we have that to talk about.
We got the tarp on the field behind us.
We have the tarp on the field.
It's not raining out, is it?
There's a slight threat of rain.
Oh, it's like rain.
Somewhere in the country tonight, so we do have the tarp out.
Very good.
Mitch Williams got himself into a little trouble this week.
Mitch Williams, the wild thing.
By
the way, I love this guy.
Love him too.
On MLB Network. This guy makes me laugh. Everything he says I think is funny. I like what he says. I like what his point of view is. But Mitch, come back to us. You're out of control. The wild thing is out of control. Mitch Williams.
This guy claimed to pitch with his hair on fire. Well, apparently he coaches with his hair on fire too.
You got
from what we've heard, he had allegedly, and I have to be very careful now to use the word allegedly because I've neglected to do that, and I don't want to get us into any trouble. But allegedly, he ordered a 10-year-old kid to throw at another kid? Is that the story?
Yes, that is the story.
Mitch.
And Mitch, you got to get your act together, dude. We love you, but come on.
Hey, listen,
10-year-olds.
It's time to switch to decaf, Mitch. It's time.
So Mitch is coaching 10-year-olds in Maryland, and apparently it was a tournament over the weekend. So this was several weeks ago, actually, but the story is now leaking its way out there into the media. And he told a 10-year-old to throw at another 10-year-old, which was recorded on an iPhone, I might add, by a no doubt an opposing player parent.
Right.
And aside from that, he was also having issues with the umpires, and he was heckling other players, coaches, parents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And subsequently, Mr. Williams is now on a leave of absence at work.
He has taken a leave. He has taken a leave of absence from this very embarrassing situation, if you will, and I guess until this blows over, he's going to hide for a while in Maryland, just hang out and just let it all go away.
It's a good move, Mitch.
Yes, Mitch, you've done the right thing. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Absolutely. And then, it's a perfect segue into one more story about the abuse of children on the diamond, on the baseball field. What's going on?
It's mind-boggling.
We've got a young man, pitcher. I'm going to let you finish.
Yes, his name is Dylan Fashnacht.
Fashnacht.
Don't say it too many times, you might mess it up.
Say that 3 times fast.
I should talk with my last name, but he is out there in Washington State, and he has 194 pitches in a game, a 14-inning game, and he's been allowed to throw for 194 pitches by his coach. He was taken out in the 15th inning only after a couple of guys got on base. So
I'll tell you what. You know what? We've been talking a lot.
Could you leave him for 6 more pitches?
Well,
200.
A topic of discussion on this show and virtually everywhere else across the country has been the rash of elbow injuries with young pitchers. And, you think it would be kind of top of mind for this coach right now, where he might consider the health of the young guys that he's coaching and not throw them out there for, 194 pitches?
194 pitches.
194 pitches.
This is
That's like 2
absurd.
games.
Well, he was in the 15th inning. A high school game is a 7-inning game, so this was more than 2 games.
Do we know what happened to the coach?
Nothing happened to the coach. Now, some of the quotes that I read... How
is this guy not fired immediately, especially now that it's getting national attention?
It's funny you mention that, because David Price mentioned that, he's like, your coach should be fired. This was on Twitter.
Yeah, you would think, right?
The coach turned around and made a comment to the effect of, well, we checked on him every inning. He said he felt comfortable. Well, of course, the pitcher never knows when he's done. I mean, anyone that's ever done any coaching will know the pitcher never knows when he's finished. And certainly not a kid, 16, 17-year-old kid pitching in a high school game. 194 innings. Listen, I got news for you. If the parent didn't step forward...
194 innings?
I mean, come on.
Pitches. No, you're absolutely right. And you know what? We're at a point
now where... As a parent, you step forward and say, listen, coach, take my kid out of the game.
Any parent. But you know what? At this point, there's such a high level of awareness with injuries to pitchers and these types of surgeries that these young players are going through. You think somebody would have the common sense as a coach to realize that, I'm making a big mistake here. I've got this kid out here for 194 pitches. I mean, I guess he probably didn't expect it to garner national attention as it has, but
probably not.
Anyway, I got to tell you, I'm baffled by that one. I'm baffled.
Well, the kid said he was good for 200 before the game, so
he was good for 200, and bring him back tomorrow. What is this, Japan?
Oh, my God.
All right, anyway, let's get into who's hot and who's not. We had an interesting week this week. A couple of guys that we really haven't talked about much this year having very big weeks. David Ortiz, Big Papi.
Big Papi.
Big Papi with a big week. 435 on the week, 4 home runs, 6 runs batted in. The guy, just went off in a big way this week. And at 38 years old, Big Papi's got a little bit of pop left in the bat, huh?
He may have something else left in the bat, too, for all I know. But hey, listen, if he's got cork in the bat, it's okay with us. If he's taking steroids, we don't like that. So
well, we don't like that, but we're not accusing him of anything, of course, because we would never do that.
Of course we wouldn't.
Without any evidence, of course.
At least evidence we didn't pay for, like Major League Baseball
absolutely,
did.
Absolutely.
I got a little chuckle out of that over there.
Love to get a little chuckle out of the booth. Brandon Moss this week had a really big week. 455, 3 home runs, 11 runs batted in, and 8 runs scored.
You know, this is another guy who's now kind of like becoming almost like an underrated player. Mm-hmm. He's consistent. He gets, hits the ball for power, driving in runs. He goes on these hot streaks. This is a guy that I wonder, and I think he came up in the Red Sox system, if I'm not mistaken. This is a guy that I wonder if they regret letting go. But this is a good guy. This is a good player. This is a guy that I was kind of looking at a little bit. He went a little bit soon in our draft than I would have liked. I would like to have gone after him myself. And he's hitting in a place that's not that easy to hit in either. So I give a lot of kudos to him right now, the way he's playing.
Right. And here's a guy that I'm quite pleasantly surprised about. A guy that I really was not high on at the beginning of the season. I thought last year was a little bit of a one-hit wonder kind of scenario. But Josh Donaldson is really putting together a pretty good year again this year. Right now, this week, 471 on the week, 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in, 9 runs scored. And, he's having a solid season.
Yeah, he's proving that it's not a sophomore jinx. He's proving that he is the real thing. And I got to be honest with you, you and I weren't talking about him. We had no knowledge of this guy whatsoever prior to last year. He kind of came out of nowhere in my mind. I mean, I'm sure there are some deep thinkers out there that maybe had them on their draft board. I didn't. I can tell you that right now. And these guys come along every now and then.
Yeah.
And he's definitely one of them.
Yeah, without question. Without question. Another guy that kind of came out of nowhere is Juan Francisco. Toronto, he's eligible at first base for the most part in most leagues. But he's been playing third base, and he's been tearing it up. 389 this week, 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in. Certainly a guy that if he's out there on your on your waiver wire, pick him up and take a flyer on this guy.
It seems like he's going to play, and he does hit for power. He's been around for a couple of years.
Yeah.
He's played, even when he was with the Braves, I think before that. I think before that he might have been with the Reds. He's always hit for power. He does strike out a lot.
Right.
And his average is never going to be great. But when he gets in these streaks like he's in right now,
you got to ride it.
That's when you want to have him.
Yeah.
And I think he's eligible at first and third base in a lot of leagues, too.
Well, if he's not eligible at third yet, he will be soon.
He will be anyway.
He will be soon. And then we've got the 500 club this week. We've got 2 players in the club this week, minimum of 20 plate appearances and batting at least 500. David Murphy from Cleveland, 522 this week, 13 for 23, 1 home run, 6 runs batted in, threw in a steal.
He's one of those guys that I've kind of like a plug-and-play type of guy. I've used him before for a week here and a week there. Mm-hmm. He's almost like a streamer as a pitcher, but you use him for a week versus one start. So.
Absolutely. And another guy that really should be on people's radar right now, if he's not already, is A.J. Pollock. Pollock batted 500 this week, 2 home runs, 4 runs batted in. Stolen base, he is a guy that really projected as a 4th outfielder heading into the season, but he's getting a lot of playing time, and he's producing.
I just picked him up. I've never been a fan of this guy from day one.
He's still young, though.
I finally gave in, although I have a lot of injury issues on my team. Right. I'm like, you know what? In our league, he was still available. Mm-hmm. He went 4 for 5, I think, the night before. I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. He should be on someone's roster. I'm taking him.
Might as well be yours,
I took him. That's it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ride him out and see how it goes. I need the stolen bases, too. If he gives me anything else in the power and the hitting departments, I'll take it.
Right. Another guy, Mike Minor, a guy that was off to a little bit of a slow start this year. He had some injury issues to deal with as well. But it looks like he's kind of in a groove now. 2-0 this week, 1.35 ERA, 0.90 WHIP.
Yeah, he's back. Almost looks like he's back to regular form and ready to go. So those of you that waited on Minor, you did the right thing.
You know what? It's an interesting situation there in Atlanta, too, because now you've got Minor back. Now you've got Gavin Floyd back. You've got Harang, who still, we keep saying it, he keeps haranguing around. He's pitching well. I mean, people are waiting for this guy to implode, and he's not doing it.
Yep.
So there's a lot of depth in that rotation right now.
Yeah, they've got, with all their injuries, too, it's kind of shocking, actually. And you forget about some of the other guys, the minor leaguers that they're moving around.
Well, forget about that. We've also got guys like Beachy. We also have Medlin, who was supposed to be in the rotation this year.
Those are the guys that are hurt, and that's why I'm saying that this brave team has been so deep in pitching. It's ridiculous. I mean, they've taken it to a new level.
You know what? And that's always been the case with that team. I mean, you go back to the years when Glavine just came up and Smoltz came up, and they suddenly seem to be placing such a priority on pitching, and it's something that's really continued over the course of the last decade or two. Really, I mean, they've always been deep in pitching, and it's really what's kept them, competitive all of these years.
Yeah, no, they've done a phenomenal job.
I mean, they were a team, if you remember, back to when Glavine and Smoltz first came up, they were the laughing stock of baseball, the Braves. They were. They were the laughing stock of baseball. I used to watch a lot of their games, though, because they were broadcast on TBS. And TBS, I used to get where I lived, and I'd watch a lot of the games. And you could see the philosophical change and the fundamental change in how the organization began to operate and really work from within and develop these young guys, and they've done a fantastic job.
And those guys were getting bombed early on.
Oh,
they were,
Glavine and Smoltz guy, and not so much Smoltz, but Glavine was horrible his first year.
They were all getting hit hard, and
But you could sense a change, the same kind of change that we're sensing now with Houston. It's the same kind of feeling that you got.
Yeah, those guys in Houston that were getting bombed, like Jordan Lyles last year, who's now in Colorado, and Dallas Keuchel this year, who was getting bombed, last year. He's now pitching great this year. So those are the guys you got to wait a little bit. Everyone wants instant results. It doesn't work that way in most cases. I mean, some guys are just phenoms coming out of the minors, but the other players get developed, and it's happening in Houston, like you said.
All right, a couple more guys, and then we'll take a quick break. Matt Shoemaker, Los Angeles Angels starting pitcher. Now, here's a guy that has never really done much anywhere. I mean, he had I believe it was like a 6.7 ERA in AAA. They call this guy up, and he throws 2 dynamite starts this week.
I wish his last name was Buttermaker.
Buttermaker?
You remember
Shoemaker?
Buttermaker?
Listen, he might be a Shoemaker in a couple of weeks. You never know. But
he maybe was a Shoemaker before
he
he got
was.
here.
I don't know. But 2-0 this week, 2.45 ERA, 1.02 WHIP. I'm sorry, 0.82 WHIP, 15 strikeouts in 14 innings pitched. Where did this guy come from?
Listen, I have no knowledge of this guy whatsoever. He came out of the deep depths of the farm system, and away we go. So I don't know. I mean, good luck.
Pick
him up. You take a shot.
Pick him up.
I'd use him as a streamer right now if I were you. I'd keep him on the roster and pick and choose.
Keep him on the roster. Look at the matchup, and if you need a guy, use him.
Yeah.
Another guy, Dallas Keuchel, down in Houston. Dallas is doing well down in Houston. I mean,
Houston,
the guy,
we don't have a problem.
We do
with
not have
Dallas.
a problem. He's 2-0 this week, 0.74 ERA, 1.02 WHIP, 5-2 on the season, 2.92 ERA, and his 1.05 WHIP on the season.
I made a mistake with this guy. I actually picked him up, and I rode him for a week or so when I had some injuries, and I dropped him. I should have kept him. He's exactly what I was talking about, the kind of guy who, if you look at his ERA the last couple of years, you'd be like, well, why do you want this guy on your team?
Right.
And well, now he's showing you why. So gave up on him too soon. I think you hang on to this guy. And even though he's not going to get a lot of wins, more than likely, Houston is slowly getting better.
Yeah.
Listen, they're going to probably lose 80, 90 games easily. 90 is probably the number I'm looking at. But this guy here, I think I want him for now.
You know what? I want him on the back end of my fantasy rotation because he's a guy that's going to help you more than he's going to hurt you.
You don't have to
he's
start
not going to get
week.
you a lot of wins.
Yeah.
He's not going to get you a lot of wins, but he's going to help you in ERA. He's going to help you in WHIP. He's going to give you quality starts. He's going to strike out some guys. And, you need that kind of filler at the back end of your rotation.
And you don't have to start him every week either.
And you don't.
So.
One last guy on the hot list, and this guy deserves it after I did a little research on this guy, Johnny Cueto. Johnny Cueto became the first major league pitcher in 101 years. Where's the bell? To start the season with 9 consecutive games, pitching 7 or more innings per start, and giving up 2 or fewer runs allowed in all of those starts. In 101 years.
That is beyond noteworthy. That is awesome.
It's a hell of a performance.
That's fantastic.
All right. Let's take a break. We're going to come back in a couple of minutes on Fantasy Baseball Code Red here on radio.com. Stick with us. We're also taking phone calls, 855-446-7284. Give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind. We'll be back in a minute.
radio.com.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us. Paul Brown and the Killing Devils. Alternative progressive rock like you've never heard before. Over 1 million views on YouTube. New York City Village Voice says Paul is a gifted singer, songwriter, and musician with one of the best progressive rock bands on the planet. LA Underground Music Exchange calls him the only modern American band to cover every genre well. Pick up the albums Black Widow Tears, Red Spider, and The Wizard's Dawn, now on iTunes. And get to facebook.com/Killing Devils to keep up with the latest info.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural.
And organic.
But strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, this is Gina Cotillo from The Gina Show. Come join us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for celebrity interviews, Reality Reel with Billy Charles, funny stories with Brian Kinnear, and much, much more. The Gina Show can be found only on InRavio.com, broadcasting to the world, so come and catch us.
InRavio.com.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on InRavio.com. Just want to remind you, check out the InRavio.com website on the homepage. We've got some great contests on there. Click on the contest tab, enter to win contest, or rather concert tickets at the Paramount in Huntington, or you can go to the ParamountNY.com website, check out all the shows. Looks like we've got a little grin on the General's face here. Some breaking news.
We have breaking news.
What do
I'll
we
put
have?
my glasses on for this, which I don't normally do. Alexander Guerrero, for you Dodger fans out there, has been injured in an incident with a teammate.
You're kidding.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
What happened?
His ear was displaced by a bite during an altercation with teammate Miguel Oliva.
You're kidding me.
According to Guerrero's agent.
Did they sign
Scott
Mike
Boras.
Tyson recently? What happened? You gotta be kidding me.
Folks,
Displaced or digested?
the Dodgers are in town. We have guys biting off guys' ears. We've got Puig. We got it all. And we got the
Wow.
commissioner on hold to comment on the whole thing.
All right, let's bring in our co-host from last year, who we missed terribly. But unfortunately, his work travel schedule prohibits him from being on the show this year. But we've got him on the horn here. Commish, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, boys. How about you?
It's good to hear your voice, man. How are you?
Good. I'm all ears today.
You're all ears. Well, that's good
no
because
pun intended.
one of your players out there in Dodger Town is missing an ear at this very moment. In good shape.
What is going on? What is going on?
This is crazy. Between shenanigans like this, you got Mitch Williams having his kids beating other kids, and
all right, let's give you a little background on who Alex Guerrero is. He is one of those international men of mystery, as we like to call him. He was a Cuban defector, I believe, and signed with the Dodgers. 27-year-old second baseman, had a great chance of breaking camp with the club this year. They sent him down to get him a little bit of feel of how to play second base. He's not a natural second baseman. And then D. Gordon explodes on the scene, and he's kind of stuck down in AAA right now. But apparently he's missing a body part.
And you know what, guys? He has been on fire down in AAA
He
at the moment.
He has.
I've stashed him on my roster. I'm just waiting for an injury or for them to get tired of Juan Uribe.
You know what? It was either that or you were kind of expecting D. Gordon to kind of flame out after his hot start, but he hasn't done it.
I know. He's been a gold source for stolen bases and even average up to this point.
Unbelievable, this guy.
And Commissioner, were you aware of this incident?
No.
This just broke.
First, I heard you guys going to the show with it.
So I guess Miguel Olivo. Now we're talking about Guerrero. He's on the big league roster right now.
No,
or is he?
No.
Both of them
are in AAA.
Oh, Olivo's in AAA with
both of them are in AAA. Yeah.
All right. So these two guys got into it, and Olivo bit off his ear. I love it.
You know what? You cannot make this stuff up.
Friends, Romans, and Dodger men, give me your ear. Bite me.
There must be a woman involved there somewhere.
Oh, my God.
Listen, we were worried about what people were eating at the Shake Shack out at Citi Field.
That's great.
Anyway, so listen, we know that you've got a soft spot in your heart for the Dodgers there, Commish. We got them in town this week. 3 games. I'm actually going to tomorrow night's game. I'm pretty excited about it. I get to see one of the Mets pitching phenoms, Mr. DeGrom is out there tonight. We've got Montero out there for the Mets tonight. We're not going to see Kershaw this week.
No, I was kind of disappointed at that. I'm actually going to try and go to the game tomorrow night.
Oh, you are?
If permits, yeah. But you are going to. The General will be happy. You're going to get Mr. Ryu back tomorrow night.
Yes.
So that should be.
Yes, we are.
Yes, he's starting. We're going to cover that in our injury report later. So it's going to be Greinke, Ryu, and who's the other starter? Do you know this week?
So tonight it's Beckett.
Oh,
then
it's
you
Beckett.
Get Ryu, and then you're going to get Greinke on Thursday.
On Thursday, okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got, who the Mets throwing tonight?
Tonight? You know what? I don't know who they're throwing tonight.
I have to double check. I know it's, actually it's Montero tonight. And then it's DeGrom tomorrow night. And the guy, I'm not sure about Thursday night. Thursday night might be Nice.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is Nice on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's actually the game I want to go see because Greinke's pitching.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. So how are you feeling about your Dodgers right now? They're playing well. They're a good team.
Yeah, they just got some, now we got Kershaw back. I think things are a little bit better, obviously. And now with Ryu coming back. So they've been working through some of those injuries.
Yeah.
That outfield outside of Puig, who won the National League Player of the Honors last week with Pollock, has really kind of been not so spectacular, I mean, they're mixing in Ethier every now and then with Crawford, and Matt Kemp has been serviceable.
Kemp's been okay.
Not what we've seen, years past.
But he's showing some slight resemblance to that player, but not anywhere near what he was. But you're right.
Yeah.
He's again, we've talked a lot about the depth that the Dodgers have. We just talked about Guerrero, but another guy to talk about is Jock Peterson. Here's a guy that, right now we just mentioned the 4 Dodger outfielders, but we've also forgotten about Van Slyke.
I got to tell you, I think they're better off, Greggy, with Van Slyke and Peterson and Puig as opposed to the current outfield alignment of Crawford, Ethier, Kemp.
You have to keep Kemp in there at this point. But
I mean, these guys, I just sense that Van Slyke and Peterson will give them so much more than what they're currently getting. They are just stuck with these guys. They just can't do anything.
I got to tell you, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I'd love to see them trade Kemp and Ethier at this point and give those two. Every time they stick Van Slyke in there, he's hitting a home run or driving in an important run.
He deserves to play, and so does Peterson at this point.
And you know what? I think Kemp has shown enough that he's tradable now. You know, and Ethier's got a little bit of value too, but I think Kemp has shown enough.
I think they're both, their value is shot. I don't think there's any value there. I don't think anybody wants these guys. They have contracts. They're not playing great.
I think what's going to happen with those guys is
it's a mess.
You're going to get. No, it is a mess, but you're going to get into a situation where you're going to have a couple of teams that are in the hunt second half of the season that are looking for a veteran outfielder that can produce a little bit. That's when their value will go up a little bit.
They better hit. If they don't hit, there's no value.
Or you got to trade Peterson. I mean, what do you think about trading Peterson?
No, I like him. I mean, Big Jock right now is batting .361 with 14 bombs. I mean, that's pretty good to start the season.
You know what,
Kamish, they gotta make some kind of. They gotta do something. They cannot go on like this. I mean, trading deadline or whatever, they've got to do something. You cannot stick with this outfield the way it is presently set up and expect to continue to win games. You know, so
yeah.
Something has to happen, man. Either they got to cut someone. They're not going to cut anyone because Crawford's contract is ridiculous. Kemp's is borderline ridiculous. Ethier's is actually, he's probably not, but he's not even starting, so he's not even the problem. You know, you could probably trade, but it doesn't do anything for you because you're not going to bring up Peterson and you're not going to put Van Slyke in there on the bench anyway. You want those guys to play, so trading Ethier does not help you. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have to make a big move and get rid of one of the starters.
No question.
And pay half the contract because no one's going to pay these guys.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
But the Dodgers, you know, they're not afraid to spend money. So, you know what, if you pay the contract on a guy like Kemp or Ethier, and then you bring up a guy like Peterson at the major league minimum,
yeah.
You see, it's really probably a wash.
It's a wash. You're getting the production.
It really is.
Yeah.
He should be in that outfield with Puig. There's no doubt about it.
Right now, he should be in center field.
Nothing left to prove down there.
Nothing. And he had nothing left to prove last year. I mean, right now, you know, if this guy's not up in June, I'm going to start calling for him like we called last year for Springer. It's a different situation because Springer, the Astros had more of a need with Springer than the Dodgers do with Peterson, but this is a guy that needs to come up.
You know, and they're in an interesting situation as it stands anyway because of the D. Gordon situation, and now they've got this guy Guerrero who they've paid money for, and so he's a possible trade candidate maybe, I don't know, or maybe D. Gordon's a trade candidate. Maybe you don't want to trade him, but the situation is they could probably trade a couple of guys here and maybe make a move and alleviate some of that payroll and pay for some of it and get themselves in a position where they want to be. They're not where they want to be right now with that offense.
Well, Greg, what do you think about Hanley Ramirez in his walk here? Are they going to re-sign him?
You know, all indications from everything I've read, especially in the LA press, is that they want to re-sign him. Mm. Yeah, I think he's.
It's a shame because he's a guy that would make a lot of sense for the Mets to pick up next year.
Yeah, they love him here.
Yeah, I can see why.
He'd come here. This is where free agents come to die when they come to Citi Field. So
yeah, that would probably be the end of his career.
Yeah, that would be the footnote to it all.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you'd also probably have the Yankees in that mix too, right? With Jeter going away, so they'll be looking to pay some big bucks to a big name.
Yeah, you know, I didn't think of that. I could absolutely see that happening. Absolutely. So what else has happened out of Dodger Town?
Not too much. I'm excited to see them in town. We don't get to see them too often, and as you know, last year we tried to see them at Yankee Stadium and we got washed out. That was a big disappointment. But I was just wondering if the General is stalking Puig by his hotel this afternoon.
No, I actually did walk by the hotel. For those of you that don't know, the New York Palace Hotel, located in Midtown on Madison and roughly, what is it, like around 49th, I guess it is, or 50th. Well, it takes up a whole block anyway. That is the hotel where the players stay. And I did not see the team bus out in front. I got out too late today to see the team bus. So, no, I did not stalk Mr. Puig. I did see Clayton Kershaw and Ryu last year out in front of getting on the early bus, I might add. The early bus, not the late bus. There were 2 buses that leave from that hotel. And I take note of who's on the early bus and who's on the late bus.
I think we're going to have to notify Dodger Security Commission.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the short bus.
The General's lurking.
Yeah.
I'll check back later in the week.
I don't know if you guys saw, but the Dodgers had an off day yesterday while they were in New York. So I don't know if they were out in Brooklyn or Manhattan, but they were actually playing dodgeball with a bunch of kids. D. Gordon and Drew Butera were out there, and they were nailing the kids.
I didn't see that. That's actually a good story.
Listen, as long as they're not biting off body parts, we're okay.
Exactly.
All right, listen, man, thanks for calling in, Commish. We got to have you on, one of these weeks soon.
Sounds good.
All right, we miss you, bro.
All right, miss you guys too. Take care, guys.
Hey, listen, if you're out there tomorrow night, though, shoot me a text and we'll hook up.
I will.
All right, sounds good.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, have a good night.
Take care, Commish.
All right, let's quickly do our Who's Not segment. We're going to blow through it pretty quickly because we spent a lot of time on other things tonight. Not hot, Mark Reynolds, 1 for 23 this week, 9 strikeouts. All sorts of issues and concerns in the Mets outfield right now. We've got Eric Young, 2 for 24. That's right, 2 for 24. Chris Young, I'm laughing as the Mets are supposedly going with the youth movement, and they keep I think they're confused by the name Young. That doesn't mean young.
Listen, next thing you know, Robert Young will be out there in the outfield, all right?
Chris Young, 1 for 17 this week after being 2 for 19 last week. Now, they keep rolling these 2 guys out there, and Juan Lagares is on the bench.
That's a mistake.
I do not understand.
That is a mistake.
I do not understand.
Well, today Juan Lagares is on the bench because he flew back to the Dominican Republic, so he's not even in town right now.
Right.
But he will return. But the issue is that Eric Young has been a part-time player his entire career, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is he can't get on base enough to make those stolen bases worthwhile. When he's hitting, he's great.
Exactly.
But the problem is he does not hit consistently enough, and he's not 21 years old anymore.
Right.
So, but Lagares is a guy that could possibly give them some help that they could use.
But here's my feeling on the Mets, and I don't want to dwell on this for too long, but Chris Young is in no way, no shape, no form part of the future for this team. Okay, they brought him in for a year as a seat warmer. Okay, the guy has done nothing. I know they promised him playing time, but the guy has done nothing to earn it. So in my mind, you got to play Granderson. You have to play Lagares at this point and see what you have. You have to. You should. You need to. Jed Jerko, 2 for 20 this week. Justin Masterson, 0 for 2 this week. 11.17 ERA and a very generous 2.17 WHIP. This guy's getting knocked around the park right now. He's supposed to be the ace for that team.
Yeah, he's scaring me now.
Yeah.
I put up with the first couple of bad performances, and now this one here, I'm getting nervous. So.
Yeah. And one last guy before we go to commercial break. Jake Peavy, 0-1 in 2 starts this week, 9.58 ERA, 2.13 WHIP, 20, count them, 20 hits in 10 1/3.
It's hard to
They're
believe.
lining up to hit against Mr. Peavy right now.
There's a fight at the bat rack.
All right, listen, let's take a break.
They'll bite someone's ear off to get a bat up there.
They'll bite anything off to get up there against this guy. All right, let's take a break here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red. We'll be back here on InRavio.com in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
InRavio.com.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
And be sure to watch In or Out, pun intended, on Friday nights on inravio.com.
inravio.com.
All right, we are back here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on inravio.com. We're going to get into our next segment right now, our waiver wire segment, and this segment is brought to you by the Village Music Shop in Mastic, New York. It's where I go to get all my musical equipment. Great place. They give lessons. They do it all. All right, let's get into our waiver wire section right now. A guy that's been a top prospect for quite a long time, kind of bounced around a little bit, but seems to finally be making his way to where he needs to be is Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer is now replacing Danny Salazar in the Cleveland rotation. Bauer's going to get 2 starts this week. And I got to tell you, General, Danny Salazar is one of the big disappointments of the season so far this year. This is a guy that was a hard-throwing guy coming back off of Tommy John and pitched really well toward the latter part of last year. I had this guy as a super sleeper this year. Thought he was going to be fantastic. Apparently he's having trouble with velocity, so they sent him down. Salazar down, Bauer up.
And you know what? We're at a point with Bauer anymore where I can't say anything bad about him because he's done everything he's needed to do to get back. And this is a guy that's been bounced up and down by Francona, and there's been some issues, I guess, with his attitude, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's straightened all that out, gotten some of that control back. Now it's time to be all in with Trevor Bauer. Mm-hmm. So.
Absolutely. Another guy that I'm going to recommend that you pick up because he's in the process of being dropped in a lot of leagues right now, Alex Wood for the Braves. This is a guy that proved last year that he is a very capable starter, very capable. I'm talking 2-3 starter. Wound up losing his spot in the rotation temporarily, I'm going to say, because of the return of Gavin Floyd and the miracle that is Aaron Harang.
Certainly not due to his pitching.
Not due to his pitching. The guy was pitching really, really well this season. I think part of the strategy with him is that they want to do, limit his innings a little bit this year. So moving him to the pen temporarily is not a bad move.
It's not a bad move.
But let me tell you something right now. You're going to thank me later if you pick this guy up and you stash him because he's going to be back in the rotation before the end of the year and he's going to pitch well for you.
And he probably could be back by the trading deadline.
And that's very high probability. And I certainly would stash this guy. I mean, Aaron Harang.
It's tough to hold on to these guys for a month at a clip. But
if you've got the room, if you're in a league where you've got the room on your taxi squad, on your bench to do that, then you do it.
Or if you don't need that roster spot to make the playoffs, but you want to have that position to have that guy pitching for you later, because if you're going to save his innings, the guy will be pitching in September.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Another guy, Nick Franklin, brought back up. He was tearing the cover off the ball at AAA. So much so that they brought him back up, and it looks like Brad Miller is going to be losing some at bats, maybe losing his job altogether if Franklin can put it together on the major league level right now.
It's hard to believe. I thought Brad Miller was a lock, but here we see that's not the case.
And not only is Miller not hitting, he's not fielding.
Yeah.
And
that's not going to play too well.
It's not going to play. It's not going to play.
So.
Another guy, Colton Wong. What's wrong with this picture? He's back. You know what? Not only is he back, but he's producing. You know, he's getting on base. He's hitting. He's stealing some bases. You know, a guy you want to grab.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of his before. I'll say it again. But serviceable. Definitely someone you could use if you're in need. Not top echelon second base player, but in the mix and could be serviceable.
Certainly, you know, somebody that might be able to help you out, especially
Yes.
if you've got an injury issue or you need an extra infielder.
Playing on a good team with a decent offense.
Absolutely. And finally, Devin Mesoraco, catcher for the Reds.
Back from injury.
Not only is he hot at the plate, but they moved him into the cleanup spot. And the reason being is, you know, you've got a situation now where, and we'll get into it in a couple of minutes, but Joey Votto hurt, Bruce still out. So that lineup is kind of depleted. They need a guy that can step up and hit a little bit. And this guy has been a hitter throughout his minor league career. So, you know, if you're in need of a catcher, here's a guy that you may want to take a flyer on.
Yep.
Let's get into quickly our closer carousel segment. You know, again, some interesting goings on, you know, in that situation. You know, Zach Britton right now appears to be the man in Baltimore. I thought it might be Darren O'Day, but it looks like Tommy Hunter out, Zach Britton in.
You know what? It's a roll of the dice for you. You want to take a shot, you go ahead. If he reels off 10 in a row, then you win. If he gets 2 saves, blows 2, and he's out the door, you lose. But either way, you know, it's a roll of the dice for you. You don't know what's going to happen.
And then we've got a situation in New York, you know, with the Mets where I continually have to scratch my head with the moves that these guys are making. It makes no sense. They bring Farnsworth onto the team, okay? They start him in AAA. They bring him up. They award him the closer's job. He does a halfway decent job. And I wasn't high on him initially because he was throwing 89, 90. Now he's getting the fastball up to 92, 93, 94 even. And they release him. They outright release him. I think they were going to designate him for assignment, and he chose to exercise his option to opt out of his contract.
There's a reason, though. Farnsworth has been all over this league for the same reasons over and over again. Yes, he throws hard. His fastball is as straight as a pin.
Okay.
You know, he's not your long-term answer. They probably figured, you know what? He's not even our short-term answer right now. Farnsworth is a sixth inning
But why
pitcher.
was he there in the first place?
Because they wanted to add an arm. Listen, it was probably a bad move, but they wanted to add an arm and see if they were going to get anything out of it.
I mean, I understand the situation when Parnell got hurt, you know, but they could have, if they wanted to, they could have stuck with a guy like Valverde. They could have promoted a guy like Familia.
Papa Grande, for his nickname alone, if nothing else, Papa Grande. He could have been a Taco Bell commercial.
All right, so here's the situation now, folks. Now we've got the closer by committee approach. We've got Familia, who is the closer du jour, depending on Terry Collins and what he's feeling that day. We've got Valverde, and now we've got Mejia, who is now bounced from the rotation, going to be replaced by either DeGrom or Montero. And he's done. You know, Mejia is done as a starting pitcher. So now I hear Terry Collins saying that Mejia can be an elite closer.
Listen, if you're on May 20th and you've gone through 5 closes already, you have major issues in that department. And, Admiral, as you know, in my latest article that I wrote for theoutsideanalysis.com, I said Matt Harvey should become the Mets' next closer. And the reason I said that,
go ahead, make your case.
The reason I said that was because at the very least, the Mets have such a problem with closer. It is a disaster. You have a guy coming off Tommy John surgery who has a major talent beyond probably anything they've seen since Doc. And he's not going to be the type of guy you're going to want to try to go out there and do inning counts with him next year. So my whole thing with this Matt Harvey to closer thing is that if you go with him next year, get through next year, get his arm healthy, this guy will be lights out as a closer. He'll solve that problem. He'll get his arm healthy. Everyone's just naturally assuming that he's just going to become 9 innings and 14 Ks every game next year. Folks, it doesn't work that way. There's going to be a year of transition. You might as well work him up slowly. Hey, listen, he could be a 2-inning closer. He can be like a Goose Scotch, be a 3-inning closer. But my point is, you solve one problem, and you also create a scenario where on any given night, people can go to the park and possibly see Harvey pitch. It creates a different climate, a different environment. It also creates different managing from the opposing manager. It's not the craziest idea in the world. And to boot, his arbitration eligible, I think, after next year. So if the Mets were smart, they'd turn to him and say, listen, we need you as a closer. He probably would balk at it. But the point is that it's not the worst idea in the world. And I think after a year of getting that arm back in shape, then you can revisit the whole starting rotation thing.
All right, here's why you are crazy. Okay, and listen, it's not the most ridiculous idea that I've ever heard you throw out, because you've thrown out a few doozies.
John Smoltz did it.
All right, yeah, but John Smoltz did it at a different point in his career. Here's why it's not going to work with Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey, number one, is the best chance the Mets have as a true ace starting pitcher in the foreseeable future. Okay, there's nobody on that staff that has the potential to be the ace of that staff immediately. And they are not going to take a risk with a guy coming off Tommy John surgery to have him have to get up almost every day and warm up and be used or not used, and risk a recurrence of an injury to that guy's arm. It is just absolutely not going to happen. I can't see it. I just can't see it. But crazier things have happened. Crazier things on the Mets have happened. Bobby Abreu is starting games for the Mets. So if Bobby Abreu is starting games for the Mets, anything can happen in Flushing. I will give you that.
And the Mets have a glut of starting pitching right now, which would help them next year because Colon's got 1 year left on that contract. Get through next year. Right. Bring this guy back.
Listen, at this point, as a Mets fan, I don't want to see Colon. I want to see him traded. Okay, I want to see DeGrom. I want to see Wheeler. I don't care what Wheeler's doing right now. I want to see Wheeler. I want to see Harvey start the season next year in that starting rotation. I want to see G. I want to see Neese.
I think you want to see Harvey naked with his waiter plate walking through the hallways of a hotel. That's
I want to see Syndergaard. I want the Mets, if you're going to rebuild, do it the right. Can I say damn, Matt? Yeah. I want you to do it the right damn way and do it. I gave you a chance to bleep me out, although we're not on a delay. All right, listen, speaking of delays, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the injury report, and I guess we could throw out a couple of other closes for you guys. But stick with us. One more segment here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red. We'll be back in a minute.
In Ravio.com.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. Paul Brown and the Killing Devils. Alternative progressive rock like you've never heard before. Over 1 million views on YouTube. New York City Village Voice says Paul is a gifted singer, songwriter, and musician with one of the best progressive rock bands on the planet. LA Underground Music Exchange calls him the only modern American band to cover every genre well. Pick up the albums Black Widow Tears, Red Spider, and The Wizard's Dawn, now on iTunes. And get to facebook.com/Killing Devils to keep up with the latest info.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on InRavio.com. Just a couple other quick notes on some closers. Trevor Rosenthal, a guy who's very solidly the closer in St. Louis, may have a little something to worry about. Bad week for him this week. 0-1, 2 blown saves, 5.06 ERA, 1.50 WHIP, and Jason Mott activated today, I believe.
Returned from Tommy John surgery.
Yes. So right now the plan is Rosenthal as a closer, Mott as a setup man, but keep your eye on that situation. Chad Qualls has been officially anointed the closer in Houston.
If anybody cares.
Even though they just signed Farnsworth, right now it's Qualls. Jason Grilli back next week, and Matt Lindstrom hits the DL today. So you want to look at Roland Belisario as a temporary pickup for Lindstrom. Injury update. Will Middlebrooks back on the DL, broken finger. Michael Kadire back today. Got activated today, actually. That's a guy that I need back in one of my lineups. Adam LaRoche, DL. Here's another big situation where we're not quite sure what's going on, but Joey Votto, originally they thought it was a knee injury, and we were talking about the prospect of surgery. They did an MRI. Fortunately, the MRI revealed no structural damage to the knee. It turns out it's a quad injury, but we're not sure if he'll be on the DL or not. They've been kind of milking this thing for 3 or 4 days now. You may want to pick up Soto as his replacement temporarily, but we'll keep an eye on the Votto situation. Another big blow, Andrew Kashner. Kashner just hit the DL. This is one I'm worried about as a Kashner owner. It's an elbow injury. He's having an MRI done.
Tommy John surgery?
You know what? He may be the next guy. I mean, he had an MRI done actually yesterday. They're saying that there's no damage to the elbow, or structural damage at least. So they're going to try the whole rest and rehab routine with him. Hopefully that's all it'll be. Gio Gonzalez, the shoulder injury, they did an MRI on him. Looks like he's going to be back shortly. There's no structural damage there. We talked about Ryu. He'll be back tomorrow night against the Mets. Throw him right in there against the Mets.
I would.
And Alex Cobb back. He'll be back Thursday against the A's.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. A couple of rookie down on the farm notes. Singleton should be back, or should be up shortly.
I would think so.
Yeah.
He's he's on fire down there. They need the offense, so Houston should go and get him and be done with it.
Yeah. Another guy that we talked about earlier in the year, Mookie Betts, second baseman for the Red Sox, 21-year-old minor
there's
leaguer.
only one Mookie in the history of baseball. If you want to steal someone's nickname, I don't know if you can steal that one. All right.
I, as a Mets fan, I have to agree. But here's a guy that, he's probably the minor league player of the year to date. I mean, the guy's hitting .393, .462 on base percentage, .607 slugging percentage. You know what? He
Definitely
has
keep an eye on
60% more runs scored than the next closest guy with 44.
Definitely.
Leads the league in steals with 18. Only 13 strikeouts and 150 at-bats. Now, here's the problem.
He's blocked.
There's a guy named Pedroia playing second base right now. They also just signed the Red Sox to Stephen Drew. So this guy's blocked, I guess, for a while until we've got an injury to open up a path for this guy. Alex Meyer, another guy that you want to jump on quickly. Haney, if he's out there, grab this guy. We talked about Peterson, and finally Dylan Bundy will be throwing an extended rehab game. Look for him probably sometime in July on that Orioles staff. So that's about it. I think we're running pretty close to running out of time here. Thanks for joining us here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red. God willing, we'll be back here next week. And good luck.
See you next week.
Thanks for tuning in.
Radio.com.